Hello, everyone. It's a bright day and a bright opportunity for us to talk to a couple real innovators. You might look and think, well, what would these two people have in common, right? Someone who works with some of the largest projects in the universe. Right? Not to put a fine point on it. And somebody who works with a product that's very, very small. It's only this big. But it turns out that there's a lot that you have in common and a lot for us to think about in terms of innovation in the future and social enterprise as well. So, Andrea, I want to start by talking about your little tiny, it's not a compact, I swear I'm not doing my makeup here. It's not a compact, it's a very small item, but tell us what this is, and we're going to ask the director to turn down the lights in here so that we can better understand what it is. It's a pack light.
Yes, and there's a solar panel and then a lithium-ion battery all sealed within the circuit. And the way it works is...
Drop the lights for us.
And there's a switch.
You know, that's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, they're one-way valves so the air doesn't come out. So you turn the light on and it becomes a lantern that's also waterproof and it floats. And it's completely solar charged, so you don't need any batteries and or any outside batteries. And for 10 hours of charging, you get up to 30 hours of LED light. And we've got some new shapes, sizes. So it's same concept, solar inflatable lights.
What did you design it for? What was your purpose?
Yeah, we originally designed it, so my business partner and I were actually students in architecture school, and it was just after the Haiti earthquake, which, of course, Haiti's once again on everyone's minds, unfortunately, due to another disaster there.
Potential for disaster.
And we just thought, well, I mean, people use candles and kerosene lanterns for lighting, and there, of course, are no spare batteries and things, and so we just thought some sort of small-scale, affordable solar solution that was also easy to distribute in large numbers would add to the safety and comfort for people.
And certainly this did. This not only is impressive to us, but it was so impressive that Andrea won the support. Your very first investor was?
Mark Cuban.
Of Shark Tank. What do you think he found so innovative about this product?
I mean, you know, he's a really interesting guy when it comes to, I think he has a lot of like conventional business sense, obviously, but also he's really interested in what's next. So, and I think that's why he was a really good fit for us as an investor, because we even said on the show, we have a lot of ideas and things we want to do with our current technology and other inventions we want to think about, all perhaps with some component that could help people in disaster relief aid or some sort of situation. And he didn't mind that we didn't have a concrete plan, and he was just like, I'm on board. So I think that speaks a lot to just even his interests outside of just common sense business.
This is the thing that you guys have in common. One of the things that you have in common is that the changing nature of who invests in what kinds of projects. And actually, in your work in space, you are starting to see competitors in the space from the private and very wealthy arena of investors. Right. So first tell us, what do you do, Tony?
Well, it's hard to describe, so I think I got a photo here to describe exactly what we do and what I get to do for the Boeing company every single day. We build spaceships. We build the spacecrafts of the future. Today, we're at an inflection point, as was mentioned, going from the traditional space arena by NASA and other countries, now going to commercial spaceflight in the area of low Earth orbit. And what you see behind here was the building of the first full-scale integrated mock-up of the Boeing CST-100 Starliner, the next great spacecraft for transportation to the International Space Station, providing safe and reliable transportation, launching test flights in late 2017, and then full flights with paying passengers in 2018. We're taking our NASA astronauts to the International Space Station with the new cadre of commercial crew astronauts, and then bringing a whole new generation and opening and connecting space with the masses, providing an extra seat, if you will, to take a ride into space.
Well, I got to take a little drive into space yesterday. The simulator, the CST-100 simulator, in case you haven't seen it, is on the 10th floor. It is, and Dan up there is a great driving instructor, because I managed not to make a $100 billion mistake, and I did not crash into the International Space Station in the simulator yesterday, so I'm very proud of myself, because that is an improvement on my parking I prefer parking.
It's important to park the right way the first time with the International Space Station, that's for sure.
But you alluded to this. You know, we're talking about investors, investment in the future of investment in innovation. And in your field, let's face it, there are some big competitors, as we've referred to. Elon Musk is stepping into it, Jeff Bezos. How does this change the dynamic for space business?
Right. Well, in engineering, it's all about the technology, it's all about the data. Everyone is sharpening their pencils to provide that safe and reliable transportation to the International Space Station. So for low Earth orbit, competition is good. Working with NASA in partnership with NASA provides and builds an industry across the United States to provide that access to low Earth orbit. The challenges for deep space are tremendous, and with the Space Launch System, Boeing is working hard on developing the Space Launch System that will launch us on the human journey to Mars. So as the technology matures and innovation continues, you're going to see commercialization go across the spectrum. It's the right time for low Earth orbit, and we're excited to work with the entire industry, a collaborative industry, coming together to bring humanity together, number one, and number two, connecting space with the masses. We want more people to experience space because we know when we push the boundaries of innovation with human spaceflight, it makes life better at home.
Both of you speak so well of the work that you do, but I want to point out that both of you come from rather unconventional histories to bring you to a place where we think, well, aren't innovators all like engineers, and people come from schools that, you know, focus on aerospace engineering? But your history before that actually brought you to a different space. You were not an engineer by design.
No. So I mentioned my business partner I met in architecture school. She had a background in engineering, but I mean, our products are, I think, they're probably, if that's high tech or picture's gone, I think we're quite a bit at the lower tech category. So we're more on the arts and crafts of the spectrum, I'd say, than anything, but it works for the places it needs to go, I guess. And yeah.
So we don't necessarily think, okay, architecture, what does that have to do with this kind of innovation?
You might have a similar take on this. It's just, a lot of it's just like problem solving. So finding the right kind of appropriate solution for the problem at hand. And I think that concept can be applied, you know, to everything. I mean, even just in running a startup, it's kind of what it entails every day.
Right. You know, as a first-generation Hispanic engineer, I was really
First-generation college also.
First-generation college as well. And my family always thought very hard of hard work and passion. Hard work from my father's work every single day for our family, and passion from my mother. And those coupled together provided the determination and the grit, if you will, to go combat the very tough technical courses of math and science to speak the language of engineering. And now that we understand that language, it's where innovation takes root. And so when we talk about lights, when we talk about integrating new technologies into our spacecraft, it really is about creating an inclusive culture where everyone can provide that.
How do you do that? I mean, you may be exceptional in that.
It's all about the human experience, right? When you're in an airport, you're going through security, and you get into a 787 Dreamliner, you see the skylighting, and you're soothed, if you will, from that stressful experience, and now you're sitting on your vacation or your journey or your work trip or whatever your flying ability may be. Well, we want to create that same experience for spacecraft and creating that human experience. And we reached out to the same team that created that for airplanes for our spacecraft. Again, bringing that human element, creativity, art. We were painting space with light.
Does it matter to bring a new generation of more diverse individuals into the process? How does that change the picture in both of your work?
Yep. Go ahead.
I mean, for us, speaking of the human experience, so many of our lights are used in countries, you know, we'll never probably travel to ourselves, by people who are using them, you know, in places where they don't have access to electricity. And getting feedback from the ground, whether it's through the beneficiaries themselves, or we work with a lot of NGOs who, you know, give us the recon of how the lights worked in the field, things that we could even improve with the product. That is, I think, where that's our version of bringing diversity into what we do, because that's kind of where, it all starts. And that group's very diverse because this has been used in around 70 different countries. But taking all of that into account, I think, has really helped us improve our technology. And so it's just been to everybody's
It's diversity of
benefit.
thinking, though, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely. I mean, when we ask ourselves, what's next? Well, it's the next generation spacecraft. It's the rocket that'll take you to Mars. But it all comes down to the great minds that build them. And they come from around the world.
And different experiences.
Different experiences, whether you're a first-generation Hispanic or Black engineer, or whether you're someone who has been in the sciences from day one. The conversations, the dialogue, the creative debate that happens every day builds a better product and builds something that will make humanity that much better. Because when we go to space, when we go to low Earth orbit, when we go to Mars, this is a one Earth mission. Everyone is a part of it. And it's our job as engineers and scientists and those in the innovation field to connect, to be a role model, to share what we do. In Houston, I've got an outreach program at 7 high schools called the Dream Rice University Program, providing university students going into high schools in the city of Houston, providing those hands-on projects, but also connecting people to people, person to person, so that they can see science is achievable, it's attainable, it's real. It's something that I can do every day, taking the role of the spaceship, of the things that we're building, and bringing it into the classroom. That's what we're here to do.
Mm-hmm. And I would think also, I mean, we've been talking over the last day or so also about including in STEM the A.
Absolutely.
Right, for arts, or a D for design. This is really how innovation is going to have to be thought of in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in favor of adding letters to that acronym.
To include you guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the architecture and design element is interesting because you definitely use both sides of your brain. And I think that's really important because it's kind of what you're talking about too. You've got the hardware side of it, but then also the human side of it. So
Arts is innovation. In Houston, and I'm a violist actually, my first life, if you will, and that creativity, that music, that art brings together a symphony that is equal to bringing a spaceship to life, launching a spacecraft. Every time we looked at a space shuttle, you remember the trumpet sound of triumphant going into space, right? So when we look at the arts is innovation, arts is creativity, and it drives that innovation further for every single product that we work on at Boeing. Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about another place where you guys intersect, and that is the use of technology in a different way. After all, you are both trying to harness the sun in your product. Now, this is obvious with you. You're harnessing the sun to make light. And
in space, you need light as well, right? So if you look at the International Space Station, you have these large solar arrays, because on space station, you have to have closed-loop systems. On Earth, we have the ability to almost let go of certain energy, if you will, to create the lighting networks on Earth. In space, everything must be super efficient. Actually, Boeing has one of the world records in solar cell efficiencies through SpectraLab, and it's really interesting that as we push the innovation boundary with human spaceflight, that we take these solar cell technologies and we integrate them to provide light in parts of the world that don't have it.
Yeah. And just as you're doing, your primary interest has been in creating these for emergency situations, which we hope we're not going to see in the next couple days as a result of the hurricane. But in any case, that's your primary mission, although people are using these for other purposes.
yeah, even just on camping trips and boating trips because they're waterproof, so they can kind of withstand a lot of different elements. But I'll take some of those solar cells next week.
Absolutely. We've got a team ready to talk.
Yeah, so
But the social entrepreneurship remains key to what you're doing.
definitely. I mean, I think for so many people in the world, like solar, and similar in how it's used in space, it's freedom because they don't have the infrastructure where you just turn on the lights, but they need to do things, like at night or after disaster when they feel, a lot of people feel very unsafe due to conditions on the ground. And so it's, like you said, it's small, but I think it makes a big difference in doing bigger things for people in the world who don't have stable access to electricity.
It seems to me, and you guys are both considerably younger than I am, but it seems to me that your generation of innovators is also very much more aware of higher purpose, perhaps, than my generation. We were rather focused on the success in a personal sense, but it seems that this remains key to the work that both of you are doing.
Right. You know, in human spaceflight, we are making history. We are creating the future. And that kind of passion, that mission to explore and inspire the next generation, not only in our products, but in our people and the students that are come after us, is a core mission that drives everything that I do, that we do as a community, to help a student on their algebra homework, or to help a new engineer take their first challenge of designing the first bracket for a space station, and upward and onward in terms of building their capability for the future. That's, to me, my greatest passion and greatest mission, to help students that may traditionally not have seen STEM and engineering as a career and bring them into our ranks and let their creativity shine.
And similarly, Andrea, you really have focused on the social element of your work. You could just be in this for the money, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, jumping back to Mark Cuban, I think that's another thing that really attracted him to an investment like ours was he actually, I mean, maybe when you're a billionaire, you probably have a lot of time to, not time, but a lot of flexibility to
You've
care
got options.
less about money. You have options. But I think he actually does really care about supporting companies that also do good in the world and make an impact. And for us, I mean, it's kind of part and parcel because we just wanted to make a product that solved a problem, again, for a lot of even potential customers. Like we work with some large NGO customers that distribute our lights after disasters. And for them, it does solve a problem if something packs flat and is easier to move around. And so I think we're just incredibly lucky to work in, you know, something like portable solar lighting where you have kind of the potential for double impact, so.
Will these sort of unconventional investors change the opportunities for innovators?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, yeah. I mean, it just makes it easier for you to do what you want to do every day. And that's the best feeling in the world, pretty much.
Yeah, and as in human spaceflight, as the International Space Station provides us the best science possible through its entire life, you're going to see new destinations in low Earth orbit. And when that kind of investment, that kind of passion to bring that to the masses, you're going to see innovative products and services from an iPhone that can work in space to the ability to have Wi-Fi in spacecraft, which we're aiming to have in our vehicle. So, look, innovation, investing, all of that comes together to an apex, and that's bringing the next generation of flight to the masses.
I'd like it on all my commercial flights right now. If you can get all of your clients to take care of that as well. I also want to include any thoughts from our audience, if anybody has questions out there as well. Do you, sir?
Neil Schacht from here in Chicago. And Andrea, I'm a big fan of the work you've done. I was in Rwanda 3 years ago, and the application I saw for LuminAID was the people were raising money so that school children could do homework in the evening. Because obviously in villages without electricity, when the sun goes down, no time to do homework. And people were raising money to use these for students to do homework at night. And it was really making a vast change, and it was really kudos to you.
Oh, thank you for the nice. It's like I was going to say earlier when we were talking about students and children, we get notes that people gave our lights to students to do homework at night, and I think actually they weren't always the biggest fans of having a live image to do homework. So.
And we have heard, we were talking earlier with someone who'd been in the Peace Corps, about this opportunity. I mean, there are a lot of applications for this beyond what the original notion of disaster. Similarly, I guess, in space innovation, all those things in the same way flow downstream to
Our
us.
spacecraft and rockets have to become lighter and stronger every single day, right? So in order to take more stuff into space, habitats or technologies or science experiments. Well, in our human spaceflight vehicle, a lighter light, if you will help our spacecraft take more science into space. So yeah, there are connections into what we do on Earth and in space.
I have to point out that when Tony first saw this, his eyes lit up and he thought, how am I going to use that in
You're always searching for the next thing.
the next
Like
great
I said,
thing?
we'll talk,
She's got a few more of these. These for you. Are there other questions in the audience? Yes, sir.
Yes, hi, Chris Rollison, CSRA. Both of you are, Boeing, really espousing space travel. Can you talk about initiatives that you know about that address space junk, which is bound to increase with all the extra travel?
Right. Many of our customers also include DARPA, and DARPA has had many investments in research and technology to develop architectures of satellites that can pick up other satellites, if you will, at their end of mission, at their end of life. Working with our customers across the spectrum, we track debris in the space environment every single day. But those investments in technologies in partnership with DARPA and the community, the spaceflight community, will ensure that we can have that pristine access as we continue to launch more and more into space.
So space trash, there will be some sort of space trash pickup on Tuesdays, or
Absolutely, right?
you got to get your can
If
out.
there's a need, there's a market. There's a demand. We can build it.
The sustainability question is important. I mean, that is an element to what you do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in some cases it's tough because there's no perfect solution for distributing aid on the ground and also completely minimizing the impact of what you distribute. Probably space is something similar, but everything we use in terms of the materials in the product are value engineered to be as sustainable as they possibly can, to be designed to last a certain period of time. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely something you think you're conscious about it because in most cases you're adding something new to the situation, especially after disasters.
Right, you are bringing, for example, here, plastic into the equation and the PD.
Yes, exactly. Well, we use a plastic called TPU, so it's at least somewhat better than a lot of the alternatives. Like there's no PVC or anything or phthalates in our products, so which is good for use even just in nature, camping or whatever.
Good advisory. Sustainability and how it reaches all the space.
Absolutely.
It's a flashing thing.
I think I've got it
Flashing
flashing. I've got a flashing
It's not an
right
SOS
here.
symbol, but I don't. Yeah.
Just a last thought from each of you about what we do to encourage more innovation in the generation behind you. I mean, you're almost old, but you're not quite there yet. So what do you do to encourage the next generation?
Well, find a mentor. Find a mentor 5 years ahead of you, 10 years ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you, that epitomize your values, your core values of who you are. Finding an affinity group, whether it's through the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, National Black Engineers, or other organizations that you can connect with. For myself personally, is being able to drive and create mentees, if you will, connecting with them and bringing the 21st century problems that we're working on today into the classroom. And we have been very fortunate at Boeing to create a suite of tools that do that. So that way, if you're a student and you click on a video and you see someone that looks like you, that speaks your language, that is who you are at the moment, it helps drive who you will become as an engineer in our business. And it's an exciting time for us.
And also bring into the conversation people who wouldn't necessarily be thought of as design innovators.
Absolutely, and I agree with a lot of that as a blueprint for, how you kind of move things forward. And for us, for Anna, my business partner, and I, definitely being women in innovation is something that we enjoy being a role model and have met so many young students and connected with them, and especially the young girls. So we're just happy to be examples.
Inclusion means innovation. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it.